Okay guys, we are at the end of row 2, so what we're going to do here is just a tad bit different. You should have 10 stitches left. I've already done my 3 here in the top of this last arch. So what we're going to do here is you are going to continue doing our single crochet, but you are only going to do the single crochet in the next 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, you should have 2 left. So 1, 2. This is where you're going to change to your main color according to the pattern. Your main color is going to be the color you're going to use more of. Okay, so what you're going to do here is you're going to skip this next stitch. You're going to go into the last stitch and you're going to work it, okay, into the last point, like you're going to change your color, okay? And I'm not going to finish my color off because, like I said, I'm not going to clip it because I'm going to pull this out. So I've got my hoop ready. I'm going to change to my yellow at this point. And I chose the yellow as my main color so you could see more of what I was doing, because I do know the plum is a little hard to see. Okay, so what you're going to do here at this point is you're going to pull it through, and I am going to kind of tie mine together so I don't lose it. And you will, at this point, you'll pull that together and you will finish that stitch off, and you will do a you won't do anything right now. You'll just join that part together. Yeah, you'll go ahead and chain your 1. Okay, so you have joined your new color. Now row 3, you're going to do row 2. Okay, so you're going to do a lot of row 2 here. So basically you've joined that color. Okay, so you're going to go now and you're just going to repeat the same row you just did. You're going to do a single crochet here in that first stitch, and you're going to skip the next stitch. You're always going to be skipping that next stitch, okay? Then you're going to go in the back loop as always, and you're going to do a single crochet in the back loop of the next 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the reason that you're doing what you're doing here is because this is going to be working up at an angle at all times. Okay, you know, like the chevron / ripple stitches do, they always work at an angle up the ends. All right, so now this should bring you to that center single crochet at that peak again. So you're going to do like we've been doing. You're going to put 3 in that center stitch. Okay, now you're just going to work your 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, now once again you're going to skip those 2 and go over, do that first stitch of the 9 and just keep right on going. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Should be back up to that peak again. Back up to that center single crochet. You want to do your 3. 1, 2, and 3. You continue downhill with another 9 single crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're at our skipping part again, so skip the next 2. And that's our first of our 9. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Alright, you're back at the top. Do your 3, and you will go back down for 9 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay? So basically, you know, like I said, just this part of it. So it's this row, and then rows 4 and 5 and 6 are going to be the same. Okay? When you get to row 7, 8, and 9, it gets a little bit more technical. But anyway, so you're just going to complete this row. It's all the same, all the way to the end, until you get to the last 10 stitches, and then we'll work those up together. So go all the way to the end with this color until you get to your last peak, and then we'll work those up together. Okay? So go all the way to the last peak, and I'll catch up with you. Okay guys, we are down to our last 10 stitches, so we are just going to continue. We're going to do 8 single crochet, so there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Alright, and we are going to change back, or I am, you can do your color scheme however you like, because I want to try to keep my yellow to where it ends up being the ruffled part. So to do that, I'm going to have to change back to my plum. So what you're going to do here is you're going to skip this next stitch, and you're going to go to the end like we did before, and you're going to pull your yarn through. If you're changing here, you're going to add that beginning color and pull through. Okay, and I do have to snip, unfortunately, because I have to keep adding and doing my colors, so that's fine. Alright, so now what you're going to do here is I always tie mine so that it stays, and you're going to do your chain 1. Okay, now you have to turn. Now rows 4 and 5 are going to just be the same thing. You're going to go back and repeat row 2. And they're both going to be the same, and they're going to be the same color also. So you're just going to go into the beginning stitch that you're in, and you're going to do a chain 1. You're going to skip that next stitch, and then go into the back loop of the next one for single crochet. Okay, now you see that this is going at an angle. You want to maintain that. Alright, so you're going to go in the back loop of the next one. So you're going to do 8 of these. So that was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That once again is going to bring you up to that peak, and you're going to do 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll start working back down for that 9 single crochet. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, and that'll bring you back to those 2 there that we're going to skip, and then you'll go over and start that next section of 9 single crochet. Okay, so again, for this row and the next row, it's just going to repeat itself. So for your first, basically 6 rows, because this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, this row, and then the next 2 rows. So for your first 6 rows, it's just single crocheting in the back loops. That's, you know, just making basically your ripple rows. Okay, and then like I say, your rows 7, 8, and 9 are gonna make, you're just gonna basically be following the same pattern, but you're gonna be working like more or less double crochet. And we'll see that whenever I start showing you that pattern. But that'll be just a tad bit more technical once I get to that point. But this is just the more simpler part of that. But then once I show you those 3 rows, you're going to go back to doing this. So, you know, that's pretty much all there is to the Afghan. You're just going to simply repeat and repeat and repeat all the way until the full length of the Afghan. But like I said, this right here is the simplest part of it. You're just going to do, you know, this right here until you get to row 7. So, and then you're going to skip those 2 and jump, and then you're just going to work your 9. You know, and again, if you wanted to change colors on each of these rows, you're more than welcome to do so. You know, there's nothing saying that you have to do the color changes at the exact point, because me, I'm bad about when I work patterns, I don't always follow the color changing rule. On each pattern, I always change colors whenever I want to change colors. And I think most people are like that. You know, because when you change color doesn't make the actual pattern. It's how you do your stitches is what makes the pattern. But, you know, you just do this all the way to the end. So you just get to the next point to where you've got your next 2. Make sure I got 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do one more. So I've got 9. I jump the next 2 and then start that over. So this is what you've got so far. So this is row 1, 2, 3, 4. So then when you're going to do 5, okay, and then you're going to do this row all the way to the end. And you're going to stay with this color, okay? And then when you get to the end, you're going to turn, chain 1, and go back across, do the same thing with this color, okay? So you're just going to do this for this row and the next row. And then I'll come back at row 6, because then we're going to change back over to the yellow, okay? So do this row, which is row 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yep. Do row 4, which is this row. And then do row 5, the same exact row. Then I'll meet you back up for row 6. Guys, I am at the end of my row 5 now. So we're going to continue doing our 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, well, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think I skipped one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was 8. Alright, so you're skipping this next one and you're going to go into that last one and pull through. This is where you're going to change that color. So put that new one on and pull that through. Separate that old color. And then you want to tie those together so that you have double security there. Alright, so now you're working on this last and final row. So let's chain 1 and turn this around. And it's looking beautiful. So the last row of this single crochet work, all right, as you see, it's going up at an angle. So row 6, you're going to work this last row. So you're going to do a single crochet as we've been doing into that first chain. Okay, now you're going to skip this next one and go in that back loop and start working those first 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you're at the top peak, so there's your 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then just work down for 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Skip your 2 and then work your next 9. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so this is what it's actually going to look like as far as, you know, our back stitching goes with our single crochet. So let's finish this row 6 up. When you get to the end of this row, we are not going to fasten off. We're going to jump right into row 7, which is going to start really growing our work, because we will start working with chain 3s, double crochets, and V-stitches. Okay, so go to the end of this row, and at the end of this row I will meet you back up. We are down to our last 10 stitches, so let's continue. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we do only 8 at the end because we have to match the other end where we skip the beginning stitch. Well, here we're going to jump to the last stitch because we have to make sure that it goes at an angle here too. So we're going to skip the next stitch and go into the very last one. And remember, we're staying with this color, so we're just going to pull that through and through. Alright, now this is the 7th row, so we're going to change our pace. So what we're going to do is chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to turn. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is a different pattern. What you want to do is in this next double crochet, you're going to put a double crochet. Okay, then you're going to skip the next 2 single crochet and you're going to do a V-stitch in the next one. So you're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in the same space. That gives you a V-stitch. Okay, you're going to skip 2 again and you're going to go in the next one for another V-stitch. So a double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet right in the same space, right in the same chain, I'm sorry. Let me get my yarn organized here. It's all everywhere. Okay, now you're going to skip that next single crochet, okay, right here. That's going to put you at the beginning single crochet of that 3. You're going to do a double crochet, chain 1. Okay, then the next one you're going to do a V-stitch. So you're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the same single crochet, and then a chain 1, and then in the next one you're going to do a double crochet. Okay, you're going to skip the next stitch, and then in the next one you're going to do another V-stitch. Okay, so by now you know when I say V-stitch, it's double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And if you have your pattern or your computer in front of you, you know that's what it's telling you to do right in front of you. Alright, so now you're going to skip the next 2 single crochet, and you're going to go into that third one and do a V-stitch. Okay. Now, so far, this is what you're going to have. Isn't it beautiful? And of course, I've done it so much on my Afghan, I don't even need the pattern. I just know it by heart. Alright, so you're going to skip those next 2. Now, this is a little bit of a, it's not really tricky, but it's a little different. So you're going to skip those next 2. Now, you're going to do 2 double crochet together 2 times, okay? And I have videos on this, so if you're not sure of how to do it, after I very briefly explain it, you can go back and check those videos out. Skip these next 2, and you're going to, of course, do double crochet. So go ahead and wrap your yarn and go into that next one. Okay, grab your yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 only. All right, then go into that next stitch, and you're working in that V part here. You're going to do that again. You're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, so you should have 4 hoops on your hook at this point. Yarn over, pull through 2 only. Now you should have 3. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so that's 2 that you worked that through. Now you're going to do that through the next 2. So you should still have 1 hoop on your hook. So yarn over, go through the next one, grab your yarn, pull up, you'll have 3. Yarn over, pull through 2. You'll have 2 on your hoop or on your hook. Now you're going to work in that last one. So yarn over, go through that stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, you'll have 4. Yarn over, pull through 2, you'll have 3. Yarn over and pull through all 3. Now what that did is that combined 4 stitches into 2. Okay? So now we're going to move on. You're going to skip the next 2, and then you're just going to go back to making a V-stitch. Okay? And now be careful when you make here, because you don't want to leave big holes, okay? Because it's possible you can leave big holes here when you're joining these, like right here. You don't want to leave a big hole like that, so make sure that when you make these, that you pull up the slack a little bit. So when you're making these V-stitches, kind of pull in a little bit when you're doing these so that you don't have big gappy holes, because it's not going to look very nice. Alright, so continue making that V-stitch right here. Okay, and then you're going to skip the next 2 and do another V-stitch in that third one. And all you're doing now is you're mocking what you did on the very first one. So see right here you had 2 V-stitches, so now you're having 2 V-stitches on the upside of this heel as well. Let me back up a bit so you can see that. Okay, so basically now you're working the upside of this heel. So now we're at the peak, we're going to work duplicate of what we did here, and then we're going to be going down, so you're going to be working the same thing going down. When you get to this point here in the center, you're going to be reworking that, and then you're going to be going back up, and so you're just going to be repeating that. So we're going to skip this next stitch, then we're going to go into the next one for that double crochet and chain 1. Okay, then in the next stitch you're going to do a V-stitch. And after that V-stitch, chain 1. And then in the next stitch, you're going to do a double crochet. Alright? And then you're going to skip, you're you're going to skip one and do another V-stitch. And then you're going to skip two and do a V-stitch. Okay. Now you're going to do the 2 double crochet together again. So you want to skip 2 and then you're going to work these 2 together again. Okay, so there's 1. And then there's 2, and we're going to pull those together. Alright, let's do the next 2 the same way. And you're just going to work those 2 in together to be 1 stitch. And there you have it. So now you just turned 4 stitches into 2. Okay? Just like that. That's very, very simple to do. Now you're going to skip the next 2. 1, 2, and then you're going to go back to working a V-stitch here. Okay, skip the next 2, work another V-stitch, skip the next stitch, and then you're going to work a double crochet and a chain 1. And then here you're going to work in the next stitch, you're going to work a V-stitch. And a chain 1. Then the next stitch is just a double crochet. And then you're going to skip the next one and work a V-stitch. Alright. Then you're going to skip 2 and work a V-stitch. Alright, now you're back down to the middle again. You're going to skip the next 2 and work these 2 stitches here together at this peak. So you're just going to pull these 2 together. So it's 2 double crochet together. Okay, and then you'll do that one more time for the next 2 stitches. Okay, then you'll skip the next 2 and do a V-stitch in the next stitch. Skip the next 2, do another V-stitch in the next. Okay, you're going to skip the next stitch, and then the next one gets a double crochet with a chain 1. Then the next stitch gets a V-stitch with a chain 1 after. And that's the chain 1. Now the next stitch is just a double crochet. Then you skip the next, then the next stitch gets a V-stitch. Then you're going to skip 2, then the next stitch is a V-stitch. Okay, so let's have a peek at that. And is that not beautiful? I love, love, love doing this pattern. It's very, very beautiful. Okay, so basically that's all there is to this row. You're just going to keep repeating that. Be very, very, very cautious of where you are putting your stitches. Again, and it's probably due to the fact that I'm watching my talk shows while I'm doing this, or South Park or something, and yeah, it's kind of funny. I do watch South Park, but I'm watching something while I was doing it, but I kind of had to frog mine a couple times when I was doing it to begin with, because I was putting too many stitches in or missing a couple of stitches, but I eventually got it. But it's very, very, very important to the upcoming rows that you get every one of these stitches in its exact location, because once you start doing these next rows, you're going to understand how important that they will be, because it can mess up, which like any missing stitches or too many stitches can, but you can decrease or increase to correct those, but sometimes it can affect it even worse, in my opinion. But if you can do it right the first time, sometimes that's the best policy. But anyway, so you just want to do this row all the way to the end, and then we will actually don't do it all the way to the very end. I want you just to go to your last peak and meet up with me here, and then once I get here, I will pick the video back up and we will do just a tad bit different at the end, okay? And we will pick up here. Okay guys, I am at my last peak here. So I've already done my 2 V-stitches here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this next one and do that 1 double crochet and chain 1 here. And then I'm going to go to the top and make that V-stitch. And chain 1. And then this next one gets a double crochet. Okay? You're going to skip that next one and you'll do a V-stitch in the next. Okay? You'll skip the next 2 and do a V-stitch in that next one. Okay, now what you'll do is a double crochet over the last 2, but first you're going to skip those next 2. These last 2 you're just going to do a double crochet together. There's 1, and then there's 2, and then you'll yarn over and pull through both of those, and that joins both of those together. Okay, now you're going to move on to row 8. You're just going to stay with the same color. You're going to chain 3 again, okay, and then you're going to turn. Now what you're going to do here, you're going to go into this V-stitch for a double crochet. Okay? You're going to jump over to the next V-stitch and you're going to do a V-stitch inside that. So do a V-stitch here. Okay? Now the tricky part here is you're going to skip the next double crochet. Don't look at this as your next double crochet because you'll mess up. This is what really threw me. I guess I just wasn't giving it my full attention. This is part of the V-stitch. So don't look at this as the next double crochet. This is your next double crochet. So don't go into here thinking this is your next chain 1 space. You're going to skip this double crochet and go into this next chain 1 space. So you're going to go into here. Alright. And do your next V-stitch. Okay? Now you're going to go into this double crochet right here for a double crochet and a chain 1. Okay? Now you're going to go into the chain 1 space of this same V-stitch and you're going to do a V-stitch. Okay? and a chain 1. Now you're going to go into the last double crochet of this same V-stitch that we're working in and do a double crochet. So it's the same thing as the last row. You're just building on to this row. Alright, now you're going to jump to the next V-stitch. Not here, because this is not a V-stitch. None of this is a V-stitch. You're going to jump to that next V-stitch and do a V-stitch. Okay, now this is a tricky part. You're going to go from here, this V-stitch, to this V-stitch. You're going to completely jump over this, and you're going to basically, in the instructions is you're going to double crochet 2 together. Okay, so you're going to yarn over, go into this V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So you should have 2 hoops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to jump over to this next V-stitch. Grab your yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 3. Yarn over, and you want to pull them together kind of with your hands so there's no big gappiness here. And then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all 3 of those. And what you just did is you're going to have a gap here, but you joined those 2 V-stitches together, okay? So pull that yarn a little snug right there so your gap is not too large, okay? Now, you're going to go to the next V-stitch and do a V-stitch. Okay? Okay. Now again, same as before over here. This is part of your V-stitch, so you're going to skip this double crochet and go into this chain 1 space for the next V-stitch. Okay, so basically you're just going to work this whole V-stitch next. So you're going to go into the first double crochet of that V-stitch for a double crochet and a chain 1. Okay, then you're going to go inside the chain 1 space for a V-stitch and chain 1. Okay, so there's your V-stitch, and here's your chain 1. Then you're going to work the last double crochet here. You're going to work a double crochet in that double crochet. Now, then right outside here in this next chain 1 space, you're going to work a V-stitch. Okay, now you're going to skip all the way over here to this next V-stitch and work a V-stitch. Okay, now we're back to closing up this section here. We're going to join these 2 V-stitches once again. So you're going to yarn over, go in that V-stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you're going to go in here, so you're going to yarn over, go in that next V-stitch, grab your yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, grab them and pull them a little closer together, yarn over, pull through all 3, and you have joined them. So now what you want to do, come over here to this next V-stitch and work a V-stitch. Okay, see? So let's back this up and see what we got going. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that lovely? And that's what you're making. Okay, so this is row 8, and the only other thing that we're going to do is row 9, and you're going to work it exactly the same as the row we're doing now. But I'm going to do it with you because when you're first starting out, it's a little tricky with all of the stitches, because the stitches here, they build up and it's a little hard to find your place. Okay, so I'm going to do one more here with you, and then I'm going to have you to finish the rest, and I'm going to finish the rest off camera, and we'll meet back up for row 9, and I'll get you started there. Alright, so now you've got your V-stitch here, so we're going to jump this chain 1 space and this double crochet, and then we're going to go into this chain 1 space for a V-stitch. Okay, now we're going to be working this entire V-stitch, so you're going to go into the first double crochet here for a double crochet. Well, we will, I promise. Double crochet and chain 1. Now you're going to work in the chain 1 space of the V-stitch. You're going to do a V-stitch and a chain 1. So there's your V-stitch and chain 1. Now you're going to work a double crochet into the top of that double crochet of that V-stitch. Now you're going to go right in that chain 1 space beside it and work a V-stitch. Okay, now you're going to skip all this here and you're going to go right into that V-stitch for a V-stitch. Okay, now we're right back to where we're going to join these next, or we're going to double crochet together these next 2 V-stitches. So we're going to yarn over and go in this V-stitch. Okay, then we're going to skip, and then we're going to join this V-stitch. Hold those together a little bit so there's not a big old gap. Pull that together. That's all we do. Now you're going to jump to this next V-stitch and do a V-stitch inside there. Okay. Now we're going to skip this next double crochet and work in that chain 1 space for another V-stitch. Now we're back to working this V-stitch in its entirety, so we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1. Now we're going to work a V-stitch in the chain 1 space of this V-stitch. And a chain 1. And now we're going to do a double crochet into the top of that double crochet of that V-stitch. Okay. And we're going to go into this space for a V-stitch only. Okay, and now we're going to skip and go here for a V-stitch in this V-stitch. And let's join. I'm sorry guys, I knocked my camera completely off. I apologize. So let's double crochet these V-stitches together. And there we go. Okay, and that is all there is to do in row 8. Isn't that beautiful? Alright, so what I want you to do is continue to finish this row, and if you need to rewind the video to remind yourself of what you're doing, that's fine. You can just rewind it back to the beginning of this part, because it is just repeating itself, and I will meet you guys back up at the last arch as I did on this beginning part, and then we will go on to row 9. Okay, and then I'll get you started on that row and I'll meet you back up.